What's up, guys? Welcome back to Heat Soaked. We're going to be talking about something a little fun today, something for our new guys that are starting to wrench. Welcome back. Definitely want to give a big shout out to all our feedback we've gotten. But today we're going to be talking about some critical tools and even some skills needed to work on your project cars and really get started in this world, especially if you're tinkering and stuff like that. It's something near and dear to our hearts, something we've started with the wrong tool or we've acquired them as we go. So we're going to get and dive in a little bit in this today. And as you can see, you might see some tools behind us. It's just some little things that as we've been going that are going to be developed from there. So KT, what's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. And like Chris said, today's episode, we're really going to be diving into some of those critical tools and critical skills that you're going to need when you get started on a project car.
Yeah,
So we're going to talk about the required must-have tools and skills.
absolutely.
We're going to talk about some overlooked tools and skills.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we're going to talk about tools and skills that you've acquired over time after about 5, 10, 20 years in the hobby.
Yes.
So we're going to have a lot of fun with it.
So have you ever really gone underneath a car and you discover that you just don't have what you need? Welcome to cars. It's kind of what we do. But before we get into that, before we dive in, I think we want to talk about something real quick, right?
Mhm.
We've been getting some really awesome feedback from our viewers and listeners. We want to say thanks, first of all, guys. Keep hitting that follow button. Keep giving us a like. Really appreciate all the awesome feedback we've been getting. And I think you said you had a couple in mind, right?
Yeah, for sure. So like Chris said, just reach out to us. We're on YouTube, as you guys know. And if you're in the podcast world, listening on Spotify, Apple, um, whatever other podcasts are out there, you can reach out to us via Facebook now too.
Yeah,
We're on
Facebook, Instagram,
So
we're all over.
Heat
All right.
Soaked FL is our social media
Soaked
handle.
FL,
You'll
guys.
find that everywhere. So, but no, like Chris was saying, we had some good feedback. So we wanted to kind of just shout out a couple of them here.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we had some good feedback from Kirk. Kirk's from Colorado, and he
Yeah,
actually
absolutely.
has an IS 300.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
cool
he
thing
does.
about Kirk is he turbocharged his IS
He
300.
did, man. He's tinkering around with
Mhm.
that. He's really inspired us, you know.
He built it on his own. He's
Yeah.
having fun with it. And man, we would love to meet Kirk one day. So when we're in Colorado, Kirk, we're going to hit you up.
Absolutely,
And if you're
brother.
ever in Florida, just let us know.
Yeah, man, that sounds great, man. Like I said, thanks for the feedback, man. We got another one. Big shout out to Brady as well, man. Letting us know he's starting off in cars and he just picked up a Jeep he's been tinkering with, and told us a pretty funny story about a transmission mistake he did while the install was happening. Man, we've all been there. So I think this topic for sure is for some of those guys, or maybe the son-in-law of yours, to make sure you got everything you need, man. Thank you guys once again. We appreciate it, and keep following us. Is really support is really we feel love, so we appreciate it very much. Right?
Yep.
All right, man.
And
think-
with that, let's get into our episode.
Let's dig in, man. I think this is episode 11. So like I said, we're just a couple guys in a garage, man, that have been working on cars for a couple of years. Well, more than a couple of years now between us both. But it's something that we love to do, and we're only here because we one day we talked about it, and this is something that we love, something we want to share with other people, and make sure you guys have everything you need. What would help us the most when we started, little
Mhm.
things like that, little topics, as you guys see us kind of develop and really dig into these cars and some of those short form videos and things like that, or even some more fun videos as you guys are going to start seeing here shortly. Really, let's talk about and dig in on some of these required tools and skills that you are going to need to start off on our project car. KT, you want to kick us off? What's your tool? I mean, and for anybody following along, please, I want you guys to comment. What is that tool that you just have to have? That stuff
Mhm.
is so important. If it's not on site while you're working on the car, it's like, man, you might as not even start. What's yours?
So
man?
the very first one, required tools. For me, I'd say it's a socket set.
Yeah,
Can't really do too much without a socket set,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So with Japanese cars, ton of 10mm bolts everywhere.
I think you can order them in bulk now.
Yeah. So sockets and ratchets are really big.
Hands down.
And
yeah,
wrenches too. Wrenches kind of go along with that.
absolutely.
But
Yeah,
when I first started out, I know when I was a teenager wrenching on cars, I was in my dad's garage, right? He already had all the tools, so it was cool. But when I finally decided to like not borrow my dad's tools, I was like, all right, what am I gonna get? Well, this was actually like Black Friday back in the day during like Home Depot's like really good
yeah,
Black
like
Friday
really
sales.
good Black
I
Friday
got
sales,
the
yeah.
Husky big box, and back then it was like $100.
dude,
Now it
yeah,
might be 150, 200, but
yeah,
it had everything. It had like the 3/8 inch
yeah,
ratchet, the
yep,
half-inch ratchet, the
yep.
1/4 inch ratchet. It had all the sockets, metric in,
Yeah,
standard, and it came with wrenches too, Allen keys. It had
dude,
everything.
yeah, it's so funny. Is I'm thinking old school. So I used to work at Sears back when Sears was still open, and there was an auto shop. And back when we had family and friends deals and stuff like that, man, I picked up all my tools from there. So all my tools are Craftsman, had a
Mhm.
lifetime warranty, and I can't tell you how many times breaking a ratchet of that time and just coming back and handing him a tool and then getting one back was such a relief because you only
Oh,
had to
yeah.
buy it once.
Mhm.
So no, I feel you. That is a really important cornerstone for turning wrench and learning how to work on your
You
car.
need a wrench
You
to turn
need
wrench.
yeah, to be able to even do what we're saying. You kind of need it. Man, I think mine is like a really good set of pliers. Like you
Ooh,
need a
okay.
good needle nose. You need a good just locking plier. You need a couple of really good pliers to work around the car because you're talking different clips. You're talking
Mhm.
different angles you have to reach them at. So a really good set. I can't tell you how many times a good needle nose plier has saved my life,
Yeah.
especially underneath the car, either working on it, doing sound, even getting behind the radio, going underneath a steering wheel. I hate electrical and anything wiring. So anytime I had to deal with it, I can't tell you how much like a good set of pliers just saved my life, man.
Yeah,
And it,
vice grips kinda fall
vice
into that
grips,
too, yeah.
absolutely.
Just
Yeah,
being
that's
able
a
to grab and hold stuff,
oh,
that's
for
that's
sure.
your thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, exactly. Like if you can't hold the other end of a bolt because you don't have a matching set, you're kind of screwed on that one. So I think those are sort of a couple of examples. Once
Yeah.
again, guys, tell us your absolute need. Tell us what's required in your garage to be able to turn wrench for these new guys that are just starting
And
out.
I definitely agree with you, and we're lucky today Harbor Freight exists, and you and I both live really close to
Yeah.
Harbor
Oh,
Freight,
absolutely.
and we're not saying you have to get the best tools right off the bat, but if you just need some tools, Harbor Freight
Absolutely.
has really good tools, and they have good warranty, and they're
Uh,
pretty affordable too.
oh, for sure, man. Every time there's a tent sale, I'm spending way more money than my wife allows me. Like,
And to be clear, we are not sponsored by Harbor Freight at all.
unless you want to. Just want to add that little clip in there. Unless Harbor Freight wants to give us a call at any time, HEATSOAKED FL. Just remember that. Don't worry. I'm just messing around, guys. But like, man, we talked about a couple of tools, but I think there's some really important underlying things you really have to focus on, especially when you're turning wrench or just starting out. It could be a really daunting task, right? Really like, for example, some people today, I can't believe it, but don't know how to change a flat tire, don't know how to change their oil, spark plugs, as simple as it really could be. There's some skills that you really need as a person. And I think you brought it up a little earlier, man. What's one of your really, really like steadfast skills you need just
Mhm.
to get started, to start really like popping the hood and figuring out what you need?
Yeah.
What is it?
For me, it's patience. Patience is key.
Absolutely.
And patience is
Absolutely.
something that a lot of people take time to kind of refine, right? We
Yes.
all have
Yes.
patience to an extent, but refining it is important. But you
Yes.
definitely need patience in this hobby because you're gonna get into a rut. You're gonna look at something and not understand what you're doing.
For
You're gonna
sure.
go through all the emotions we described on the last episode.
And then some. I
Yes.
can't tell you how many F bombs and S bombs and all the other
But
bombs I've thrown
but the
down.
patience to understand how to work through those
Yeah,
challenges is
yeah,
definitely something you need.
yeah.
What
Uh,
about you?
oh man, I think, oh man, you took patience away, but that's like such a great one. And I think you made a really good point about how if you have it to start with, or even if you don't, it's something that we acquire, especially as like we really dig into these, cars. We're finding more issues as we go further in them. And like I said, I can't imagine how many cuss words I've invented while being underneath the car. But in all honesty, like I think for me, it's communication. And
Okay.
so the reason I really like point to that one, number one, is because if you can't communicate your issue to someone who's either providing a part, providing you advice, like we can't just call Toyota and go, hey man, like the third bolt on the right of a, give a year, make, model, and then he's looking at it and he's like, mm-hmm, yeah, what do you need? Like,
Hey
but
man, my
yeah,
engine's not
yeah.
working. What do I do?
Well, as a former part store employee, like a long time ago, I think it's important to make sure, like, I can't tell you guys how many times, you've been behind the counter or like you're in the back taking phone calls and somebody's like, hey man, I need this part. It does this. And you're like, hey, cool, man. I just pulled up your vehicle. You've got 17 parts that do that exact job.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay, but it also does this. And you're like, cool, you've now dropped it to 15 parts
Mhm.
that do that exact job. And you just start really looking into it unless you have a really good understanding of communication, like how to communicate your problems or issues. I think that's how it's really going to become most important for a beginner to be able to get that information out
Mhm.
and to get that to themselves. Yeah.
And even working with a friend on a car too. So if
Absolutely.
you're under a car working on
Yeah.
something and you want your friend to hand you a tool,
Yeah.
communication, how do you describe that tool?
Yeah.
Right? Being able to describe what you're looking at or what you're asking for is exactly what you're saying. And
Absolutely.
it's really critical. I
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely agree with you.
If you're getting out of your vehicle and just walking into the store while your buddy like your door handle isn't opening, it's usually like one of those things where communication's important because you got to come around or else it's going to break the door handle. uh so I'm
And
just
that's why I'm
cracking up.
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's over here hogging the
nonverbal
horn.
communication
I'm
works
like
too.
halfway in the store and he's like, I'm still in the passenger seat, you need to come get me. So I mean, those are some required, man. That's something that we're absolutely going to delve into. But man, we can talk about so many more. But we want to make this episode, especially to ask. A lot of guys provide a lot of good feedback. So tell us what your most required tool or most required skill, like something that people overlook the most. And I think when we're talking about overlooking tools and skills, what's an overlooked tool that you say you've either acquired through time or you got off the bat, got lucky with, what's something like that that you would kind of delve in and let these guys who are just starting to turn a wrench know, this new generation of,
Yeah.
mechanics.
So for me, one of the biggest overlooked items is just related to your shop, your garage, wherever you're working. And that relates to shop towels, shop
Yeah.
rags, and
Uh-huh.
even just working clothes.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think
Yeah.
with the working clothes, you acquire them because you're like, oh, I'm just gonna do one simple thing, and then like the next thing you know, your nice shirt is
Hmm.
all greased up, and you're like, well, that's a shop shirt now. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
so like little things like that you go into. But I mean, talk about rags and towels. Kind of tell everybody how you got to think about that.
Yeah.
Like, why is that overlooked? You think the most?
Because with a lot of us working on project cars, older vehicles, right? There's
For
always
sure.
going to be something leaking. There's a little
Uh-huh.
bit of grease, a little bit of dirt, grime, whatever the case is. So it's really useful to have shop towels or rags around rather than
Absolutely.
using your shirt and wiping things because now that shirt's now
What,
your shop
you don't
clothes.
think just like reaching over or
Well,
just
honestly,
doing
my
this
my
little good
my
thing?
shop clothes is my rag, so I mean,
Yeah.
but if you don't want your clothes to become your rag, it's good to have those dedicated rags and towels around.
Yeah,
Leaks will happen,
for sure.
sweat in Florida, sweat will be on your brow, on
Oh
your
yeah,
face, it'd be good to
absolutely.
have a towel lying around too,
Yeah,
right?
there's some sweat places you don't want down here with the humidity. So I mean, that's a good point, man. That's a good point. I think when you're talking about other things like that, I think a really good overlooked tool that you can invest some money in if you're just starting out is a good jack and some jack stands. We're not talking about being funny about the Harbor Freight jack stands and things like that. They when they made it right, they got ended up having them replaced and everything, but getting yourself a really good jack that even will outlast you or something you can learn how to work with, add oil to. I've seen, jacks that come out and they've been rusted over 15 times over the years,
Mhm.
and those things still work like a champ because they've just been maintained and taken care of. But a good jack, some good jack stands, keep yourself safe when you're under there. Don't take chances with your buddy who just started working on a car. And he's like, don't worry, the jack's going to hold. I would rather you trust something that's still instead of something that moves. Because at the end of the day, I want you to be able to get it under the car more than once.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the most
And to
important
dive
things.
into that a little more, like I personally would recommend not using scissor jacks if you can.
Yeah.
So getting a good like pump jack with
Yeah,
a
you're
nice
right.
handle.
You're right. Okay, excuse me. Thank you for clarifying. Yes, a good pump jack with a handle, which it has other uses, like we were talking about. Like
Yeah.
you ever had, or if you were ever in need of a breaker bar, a good jack handle can provide you that use for a good
That
breaker
extra
bar.
leverage you
And
can
that,
slide on the end of a
yep,
ratchet. Yep.
absolutely. Snap the ratchet in half, either that or you get the bolt. It's one of two things that's going to happen. But at least at the end of the day, you have something. It's basically a multi tool, right? It gets
Yeah.
the car up. You can open up some bolts, but like I said, guys, keeping yourself safe while you're starting out, while you're actually getting under a car. I think we all want to make sure we're getting home to our families, our kids, things like that, and that's just a good reminder, a good little refresh. I don't think a lot of people or the influencers will talk about like how because at the end of the day, we all dream about this beautiful, beautiful garage and all
Mhm.
these tools. And I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but we don't all have the money for a 4-post lift or a 2-post lift. Some of us are still working out of our garages with jack stands and some jacks. And that's what we love to do. At the end of the day, cranking a jack up is just part of the process for us
It's
here.
way
So,
better than using plastic ramps too, in
oh,
my opinion.
please.
I love them way better than plastic
Yeah,
ramps,
please
jack
don't use
stands.
plastic rams, man. That's
But they're pretty affordable too. So we keep saying Harbor Freight, but Harbor Freight has decent quality
they
things
they do
and
they
at good
do.
prices. So
Yeah.
you
Walmart's got some good stuff too. Like, I
you
mean,
recently got the Pittsburgh jack there.
yeah,
It's
we
probably like
did.
$100, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's great. That thing has
That's
like a 3-ton limit, so
yeah.
6,000 pounds. You can easily lift your IS 300. Just your IS 300 weighs what, like a little over 3 grand.
Yeah,
So
maybe. Like,
yeah.
so it's like it's little things like that. But at the end of the day, you're right. It's keeping us safe and it's making sure, like I said, at the end of the day, we're not wrenching on this thing one time and
And
then
one last
passing it
thing
on.
to add there too, it's really useful for lifting parts too. So when I was working on my rear suspension and trying
Yes,
to put together the
that's
control
right.
arms to get back with the knuckle and everything like that, it's good to have an extra. I have two jacks now for that reason, so I can use them at different angles, and I can
Yep.
jack the control arm back into the knuckle
Yep.
while I still have my coilover set up
Yeah,
on it.
so you're just stiffening the spring and getting the part.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. And like you guys are gonna see when we start doing this transmission, I have two jacks in house, and we have another connector for transmissions that we've used previously. So it's back in our personal life. So it's something that you will see as we go along. But there, before we keep adding on parts and keep going like that, we just want to let you know, hey, safety for sure. Please make sure you're keeping yourself safe within it, and then we'll go from there. But I mean, what let's talk about it, man. We talk about our required must-haves. We talk about a little bit of those overlooked tools, and I think something that we need to talk about is like what's some overlooked skills that some people will go into and like kind of miss the boat on. What do you think like is something that a skill that would really like maybe push you to that next level a little sooner than later?
Mhm.
What's something like that for you?
Yeah, for me, it would be persistence.
Yeah,
Just having the ability to get into a mindset where like this is something that requires sometimes multiple passes at it, right?
for
There's a
sure.
bolt that you just
Yeah.
can't get off. You have to be persistent enough to continue to try it.
Or you could be KT and just cut it right off because that's how persistent he is about that.
As long as you don't give up, we're good, right?
I mean,
I mean, honestly, for real though,
oh, man.
like for us, we like working on our cars, and we would
Absolutely.
hate for anybody to give up because they ran into an issue where they
For
think
sure.
it's
Yeah.
insurmountable,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Well, like, because it's like, so of course we talked about like how high of a mountain it is getting started to work on cars because you just don't understand the process. Like, unless you understand the complete engineering of a vehicle, which I mean, I've met mechanics who've had that understanding, but still they found some jobs, really hard to do and really, frustrating to do because they know either what they're going to run into or the opposite. They don't know what they're going to run into. They don't know how hard it's going to be. And that process of finding it is just having that persistence to just go in and take your steps, take your time, and just being able to replicate that with one or more cars, of course, is going to be, part of that stepping process. And I think that leads me to mine, right? My skill, something that's going to be like super important, something extremely overlooked, is just repetition. Like, this is something that we can kind of do every day, but this is something we enjoy doing. If you're tinkering with car, or for example, you need to save a little bit of money, like if you learn how to change your own oil, or if you learn how to, swap your tire, for a flat, it'll save you a little bit of maybe not the time, but that peace of mind that you did it yourself, and you follow your steps and do it right. But the repetition of doing a job, for example, if I do an oil change in this one, I know that on my, other trucks or other vehicles, it's generally the same steps,
Mhm.
maybe one or two added, depending on how new or old the vehicle is. But yeah, the same steps apply. For example, repetition on an oil change is, first turn off the car. But like open the cap cover, drain the oil out, remove the oil filter, let everything drain properly, wipe it all down, clean it, cap the oil pan, put a new filter on, make sure you have a little bit of oil in there to make sure it circulates, and then fill as needed. There's these little things. And then, of course, adding the top cap is going to be remembering to do that is part of that repetition process. But like, I'm not here to explain what an oil change is, but I'm explaining that process is used for all of the vehicles. What they do, what you're paying for at a Take Five, at a Jiffy Lube, at a Firestone, and things like that is,
Mhm.
that somebody who's gone through that repetition on multiple vehicles. Yeah, it might be some things change here and there. Changing a battery, for example, it might just be in different places, but it's the same two posts, positive and negative. So
Yep.
it's just finding that repetition, being comfortable with small things changing, and facing that head on. But I think between that persistence, that repetition, you'll find comfort in knowing that if you've done it once, you've already done half the job. Like you can easily walk up and help a friend or help somebody in need, or do it yourself again to a different vehicle, and it's not as daunting as you would accept it to be. I think that's something that is overlooked sometimes, because when somebody does a job and it's really hard, they're like, "Oh man, I really don't ever want to do that again." But now that you have that knowledge,
Mhm.
you'd be like, "Oh man, now that I know that if I just unhook this one first instead of the other one, right? If I make sure I'm unbolting it in this process, that it's going to be a lot easier, right?"
And
So,
that's the whole premise of forums back in the day,
oh,
our
for
days, and
sure,
even today,
man.
with like
Shoot,
Reddit
I just
and
brought up
YouTube.
Sears, so I
Yeah.
mean, like, you should go ahead. Well, yeah, you're right. Forums and
Repetition,
meets back in the day,
you
exactly.
gain knowledge through repetition, and at that point you want to share that knowledge,
For
right? So
sure,
then when
sure.
someone like Chris goes and changes his transmission for the first time, someone else has already done it,
Yeah,
and multiple people have done it multiple times. So
absolutely,
all that knowledge that's acquired, they can help people like us who are doing it for our first time,
absolutely.
and eventually we'll contribute to that knowledge,
Yeah,
right? We're going to
yeah.
find our own little tips and tricks as we're
For
doing it.
sure, for sure. And I think it's important, like, utilize all the information that you have. That might be one of these I'll add on just as we go along. One something overlooked is use as much knowledge as you can find online now, because back then we didn't have this, right? We had the World Wide Web, but it was like on dial up. And if you put an image up there, it took 3 to 5 business days for it to populate. And if somebody called, it was over because you had half an image and maybe a forum post, and that was it. So it's like little things like that is part of the process. Now we have so much information at our fingertips. Finding that info should be easy, but it's also listening and going through that yourself, that daunting task that a lot of people fear. That's why I think not understanding and not comprehending is why people don't work on their cars. The fear of messing it up.
Hmm.
Like, this is my daily driver, we don't want to mess it up, but it's taking that step, taking that risk, and really, like, believing in yourself and that confidence. That's
And
all I'm
that's
at.
the whole point of this episode
Yeah,
too,
for sure, man.
to
I think
encourage you guys to get into cars,
yeah, for
right?
sure. I mean,
It's not as bad as you think it
I'll even
is.
ask you, man, how long did it take you to, like, truly get confident in, like, actually taking things like larger pieces of parts off your car
Mhm.
to really, like, go into it and have that confidence build up inside you?
Yeah, it takes time and it's different for everybody, right? But for me, it wasn't that long, honestly, because when I was just taking little bolts off 10 millimeter bolts, once you learn how to put a socket on a ratchet and put the ratchet
Yeah.
onto a bolt and make sure you're going counterclockwise, right?
Yes, yes,
It's
please, lefty loosey, righty tighty.
yes,
Yeah.
like that process repeats itself whether you're doing your fender,
Yeah,
whether you're doing like some interior trim pieces.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whether you're doing your suspension. Oh wait, well now your suspension's a 14 instead of a 10. Well, same
Yeah.
idea,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
So
exactly.
it
So,
doesn't take very long to build that confidence,
yeah,
but you are stepping up slowly to
correct.
bigger and
Yeah,
better things. Now,
absolutely.
once you get into pulling engines, replacing transmissions, it's a little different than just doing
Yeah.
a basic oil change or swapping out a wheel, right?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you've built enough skills, confidence, and tools that
Yep.
along the way,
Mhm.
you're confident enough you can dive into that project
Yeah,
knowing that
absolutely.
I'm probably 80% the way there. I'll learn the other 20% as I
As
go.
I go along, and I think that's the fun part. I mean, that's what I enjoy about it, is that, like, there's a challenge in everything, and it's fun. And, like, even if you're tinkering or, like, just messing around with some things, kind of getting something, like, back up to par, back up to your expectations, it's also finding the fact that, like, there is a challenge there and laying in front of you, and once you conquer that, it's like it's so fulfilling.
Yes.
For
Mhm.
for me at least, because, like, I remember the first time, for example, I took off my valve cover gasket, and I got a funny story about this. So I took up, I had a little 4-cylinder Honda. So I had to replace the valve cover because it was just, like, flowing, like oil was just bleeding out of this thing like an open wound. And so I take out the valve cover gasket. I finish the job. I clean it up. I'm like, man, all right, the valve, everything looks good. All right, we're perfect. Put the valve cover gasket back on. I start tightening it up.
and I don't know what I did, but all I know is one of the bolts went from righty tighty to righty loosey, and I was like, something's just wrong. Maybe I'm just doing this wrong. And then I had to like, this is the last bolt. This is the last one for the valve cover gasket. Took everything back off, and I broke one inside the actual mounting point. So
Yeah.
now I had to like, that was that moment where you were like,
Oh
oh
man, that's where you
man,
need those nice
like
pliers.
yeah. So and it was in there.
Yeah.
It was broken off with
Uh,
it. And so I was like,
Even
oh,
more
here we
so,
go.
yeah.
So now I had to get a bolt extractor
Mhm.
tool. That's another good one for you for the future. Is like, but it's I had to learn like, all right, slow drilling. Make sure I add oil to it so I don't heat up. You finally get the bolt extractor, tap it in, like slowly loosen it back out. Man, like I can't. The fact that I remember the the string of words I used I couldn't say on any form of media entertainment. I'm pretty sure it'd break the glass on your phone. But it, but it, the fact that like I went through all of those emotions that upset like the frustration of like, oh, I broke something, and then I just went to the junkyard, picked up another one,
Mhm.
and it cost me like maybe like a day or maybe like a couple bucks. Went back, removed it, got it taken care of, and I was like, that could have gone a lot worse, but now I feel pretty good about this. Like this is something that I've persisted through it.
Yeah.
I made sure I used the repetition. I did it the right way. I made sure to like clean up everything a little bit better. And at the end of the day, I know for a fact that I'm never tightening
Yeah.
I'm never like over
Never doing that
tightening
again.
a valve cover gasket unless it's by hand. I'm only doing it by hand first.
Mhm.
Like that's until I get the torque wrench out. That's it. And that's the main thing. So that's funny little story, right? But it really like stopped me in my tracks. But I definitely didn't let the fear or the frustration stop me. I just kept kind of going through that, and I think that speaks to what actually like getting into cars is like all
Mhm.
these kids that are trying to keep the manual alive and trying to go about this is something that we're really like focused on. So that's gonna be a quick little story, a quick little recap of my memory at least, and go
Sure.
from there. So what's our next step, man? Let me
Well,
talk about overlooked.
yeah, we talked about overlook, but let's talk about like 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years down the road. You've acquired additional tools
Oh,
and
for
knowledge.
sure.
So what
Absolutely.
are some really good
Oh.
tools that you've acquired after all that time?
Oh man. I think the one thing I picked up like after 5 years of wrenching that I absolutely like was a game changer was a diagnostic tool.
Okay.
Like for all of our new renters and all our viewers, that that check engine light popped on, anybody who's driven to like the closest O'Reilly's, AutoZone, have them plug it up and go
Mhm.
like, all right, what's wrong? And you're reading through it and they're bringing out these things from like, the 80s, that haven't been updated in probably God knows how long. And, you read them through the second that I bought my own and I was able to plug up and see which code was popping up, P11260 or something like that, and I've been able to look it up on the forums and do it
Mhm.
myself, I was like, all right, now I can get the parts together or know what I'm going to spend before I have to go and drive it again. Or I know if it's something that has to happen immediately or if it's like an O2 sensor where I can just be like, okay, I can at least get to work this week. Wait for that next paycheck and then I can just replace this part. And that's
Yeah.
something for me that was a huge game changer because it told me I'm trying to look for the word, the requirement of part I needed, but it also told me like where on the scale of like now, absolutely like right now, or like you can change this in a week of an
Yeah.
emergency it was. Like
Well,
that's
I like that diagnostic tool, and then when you say diagnostic tool in general, in my head, I also think like having a good voltmeter or
both, yeah,
multimeter,
yeah, that's
checking,
that's another great
getting
one,
into
man.
electrical, like
Absolutely.
just being able to know if you have power to something, right?
How many
That's
times
a
has that
really
saved you? Like
that's a really yeah, I classify it under a diagnostic tool. Even a compression tester, that's a
compression
really good
tester is a great
diagnostic
one.
tool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those like little things like that, all of those tools that are used to measure everything, it's a lot more effective
And
than
those
what we
are
play along.
advanced tools too, right? And we bring
Yes.
it up, but this is acquired over
Yes,
time, right?
yes, for sure.
If
Because
you're doing your first oil change, you don't need a multimeter.
no, because like you don't know what you need until you need it. Like, and
Exactly.
that's why we say like in the future, like five, those 10, 15 years, is because like as you're doing these jobs, do you really understand what you need if you're just starting out?
remember, like, take all the information that you know away from you right now and look at a car and do an oil change. Okay, like, you still need a little bit of that knowledge. You might need, like, oh, hey, maybe the shortage in my front light bulbs or the reason why my, fog lights aren't working is it's definitely not an oil issue.
Yeah.
It's an electrical issue. And like, it's funny because like I have a story about that, like leading back to like the Sears auto shop. Like we had a lady come in and we changed the oil and she goes, oh, my radio is not working. Like, dude, I can't even explain how different of a world she lived in, but at the end of the day, like it's finding the similarities and really understanding why these diagnostic tools will help you save time, money, really understand like what's wrong. And like, of course, these things, the reason also we're talking about 5 to 10, 15 years is because some of these diagnostic tools are like handheld. You can just get codes, which is the one I got 5 years in. And then like later on, you can spend money on like a Snap-on diagnostic machine that's probably like $5,000, but tells you everything about the car, does a full scan, runs through all the repair modules, all the things that could be wrong, has a checklist. We'll check it again after restart, throw a test, throw a volt. Like it's pretty interesting how advanced those things can get. But before we get too deep, because we could keep going into this, what is a required tool or skill for you?
Yeah, for me, an acquired tool would be power tools. People actually want to just jump right in and buy power tools, but you don't
Yes.
really need power tools if you're just getting started on wrenching.
And grab that thing. That's what I'm talking about. Listen, if you don't grab a power tool and at least run it twice before you start with like anything with me on a car, I don't trust you with power tools. I better hear it like ding, ding.
Yeah. And when we're talking about power tools, we're talking like impact wrenches, right? Whether even like pneumatic tools.
Oh
too.
yeah,
So like
air
pneumatic,
tools. If you have the possibility to use have a shop or like have an air compressor, absolutely
but
anything pneumatic.
impact wrench, like die grinders,
Cut off wheels,
angle grinders, drills. You don't really need all those things just to start out.
No.
They have electric ratchets out there. Do you really need an electric ratchet?
Yes.
No, I mean, Chris really needs one.
I have one. I should have brought it out for this, but no.
But those are again our acquired tools because they're expensive too.
Yes, they are. But like you're right. Do you really need one to start on a car? Honestly, man, like our wrists, as long as your wrists work just fine. Like, the main thing you get in the cars is one thing for me that I'm actually grateful for that I didn't think I would be is the fact that I put in this blood, sweat, and tears and like used the physical force and had to like my wrists like give out as I'm like really getting like all these bolts on this car, this massive project that I undertook. And then of course later on I get this electric ratchet and I'm like, man, I wouldn't understand how much effort it took or how much this is saving me like from all of this effort if I hadn't have done that already. So it's like really like
it gives you a deeper appreciation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of
it's
how
really...
like how these mechanics go through taking apart a car.
Yeah, well, and how much they charge for labor. Your average shop per labor per hour, what is 100, 150?
Like 100-ish.
Like could be 200 depending on what kind of car. Specialized shops that like know exactly what they're doing, but they, if they charge more, doesn't always mean they're the same quality. But it's understanding the effort that you can put into it that will change that cost for I think that's important, man. But that's a great one. I actually really like anything like power tools and stuff like that. That is something you will acquire as you go on. But for all of my guys that are starting out, unless you absolutely need it, I'd recommend, hey, just put in the blood, put in the sweat, put in the tears, get it, done. Put in, what do we call it? The sweaty equity, like to really get it like finished and done. And you'll have a really good appreciation for what mechanics do, or you'll just have a good appreciation of what you yourself are capable of. Because I think at the end of the day, like I didn't think I was capable of doing it until I actually finished the job. So I turned, fully torqued down that last bolt and then drove the car for another 5 years and never had to touch it again. It was, or a couple of years, it was one of those things where it really shows you what you can do. And I think that's important. I think that's special. It's kind of why we fell in love with it. The challenge, how it definitely does. But yeah, man, I think that's a really, really good, topic for it. And leading into that, let's talk about the skill portion of that. What do you think? What do you think is a really good acquired in those 5 to 15 year mark, even of some skills you need to just keep going, keep increasing your
the jobs or the difficulty of the jobs that you're doing from there? What do you think's that most
me,
important skill?
It'll be creative problem solving.
That's a large word.
Oh yeah,
Mr.
creative
Corporate.
problem solving. We all solve problems every day.
If I
but-
heard that in a garage.
An example of that would be like custom fabrication. So
Okay.
maybe you
Okay, I
get a
see- I see
welder
where
one
you're
day.
at.
Now
I see where you're
you're
at.
fabricating your own engine mounts, you know, or you're getting a little creative. Like
That's-
this wrench doesn't fit where it needs to go. I'm gonna cut something off the grinder and
I'm gonna
weld on another.
I'm gonna grind the top off the
Yeah.
wrench and just put an L in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
But
hilarious.
just being able to think through a problem, that's something that you're gonna acquire really early in the whole project car process. The day you start working on a project car, you're gonna acquire knowledge day one. But eventually you're gonna run into more challenging problems that require more unique solutions.
Yeah.
To the point where
absolutely.
maybe a tool doesn't exist to solve that problem. You have to make that tool.
Yeah, no, I can't tell you how many times, dude. I have I worked. I don't want to keep breaking into stories, but like you're talking about like this creative problem solving. But I don't think like when I explain these stories, it's so funny because like I lean back of breaking down in Tampa at like 2 a.m. And like my harmonic balancer has literally like just slowly come off of my engine. And I'm like, now it's 2 a.m. I have a standard set of tools. I have to figure out how to put back the harmonic balancer and the bolt. And I'm like, the harmonic balancer bolt was coming out. So the harmonic balancer started moving. So the belt's flying off. So, but we're broke down 2 a.m. I have to use a shirt after I wrap. Listen, I don't know how crazy this is. I have to put the belt back on, wrap the shirt in the power steering pulley, and then I have to like use that to make sure like the belt is keeping the harmonic balancer on and hand tight. Dude, I can't portray these scenes to people unless like you have that creative problem solving, because I'm like, where'd I use a shirt?
You know, there's a subreddit called Redneck Engineering.
Dude,
that is exactly that. There's a lot of good ones in there.
I don't care what negative comments go to that, but listen, if you've ever, this is something I really want to hear from our guys, is like, hey, have you ever had to do any redneck engineering, or even if it's like you just had to do this crazy solution to solve this problem when you were broken down? I've had so many, and we could do a whole like side little short about this, but it'd be absolutely fun. But like, for example, broken down in the middle of Tampa and using a shirt to get a harmonic balancer on, like that's you can't get any more
props to you,
dude. Like we drove that car home. It worked. I don't care. But at the end of the day, you know, like you're right. Creative problem solving is a solid one. I think that a big one that the guys that have actually been through the mud and all that stuff with cars is something really important, especially if you're starting out, is realizing how important organization is when working on a car. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with buddies on cars and they're just not organized, and how many times we were unable to finish a job just because someone lost a bolt or two, or set something down somewhere that rolled off. Or of course, we all know about the 10mm story, how they just become, and they just fall into the ether. Like as you lose sight of them, they're just gone. It's the truth, because like I can't tell you how many times I've been like, hey, you see this bolt? This is a super important bolt for your pulley. Don't lose this. And I'm like, all right, hey, I'll set it down right here. Don't move this. Like 15 minutes later, I come back. The bolt's gone. Nobody can find it. Nobody knows where it is. We either end up finding it in a box somewhere with a bunch of bolts, or we have to go get another one, and it stalls the repair process. But I think falling back to that, man, an acquired skill for mechanics, something that either if you have early on or you develop, I know you're OCD, even a lot more than I am.
But I was going to say that skill, organization, it is an acquired skill, but it's a hard lesson learned to acquire that skill. When you
have to repay for parts,
you lose something. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
You put down a project for a weekend and you go back to it next weekend, but oh wait, you can't go back to next weekend. It happens 6 weekends later.
If
you're not organized,
you have to reorder all the bolts that are,
or you just took out like 7 different bolts and you're like, one of them's 30 millimeters long, the other 25, and the other other's 50. Like, where does this go?
Man, it's
Organization is a really good one. I like that. That's something that you will be forced into having at some point.
When you start having to pay for like the full bolt set of like a head gasket kit, like you just bought ARP bolts and you lost one of them. Congratulations. Guess what? They don't just send you one ARP bolt, they send you the set. And those aren't cheap anymore. So it's like little things like that. But I think, you're right. It's a hard lesson, but it's a lesson learned. I'll tell you that. And this comes from experience. I'm sure me and you both have lost plenty of parts. But after we lose that one big one that we had to pay for, we were like, I'm never, ever doing this again. Ever. Why? I have that little box and all the parts I pull out go into that little box.
You'll end up buying tool bins.
I have magnets you'll see right up there. You guys will see around on the shorts. But like, you're right, tool bins. I have caps for plastic. I make sure I am nice and organized to all the parts go.
And it goes into a lot of levels too. It's not just organization of the parts you take off. It's organization of your tools.
Yes.
Just keeping your tools where they need to be.
That's a really big one.
So when you go and look for that 10 millimeter socket, you know exactly where it is. But organization in the way you work is gone, right? Just knowing your workflow, knowing how to maximize your time, because we're both busy adults.
Yeah.
If we only have a couple hours to go work on a suspension, right? Organizing how I'm going to tackle this project is key. I'm not just going to go in blindly. It's okay to do that when you're first starting out, but again, it's a hard lesson learned.
Yeah,
because when you're at 3 a.m. in the morning, like your other story about how your clutch or whatever, your transmission was out and you couldn't go to work the next day.
Yeah, dude.
Well, you could have been a little more organized, but you learned your lesson.
Yeah, listen, you learn it real quick when you start missing some work because you've done something dumb, like when you didn't plan. But like that's a really good acquired taste. Listen. At the end of the day, here's what I think about the organization portion. I think if you have it early on, it's going to not only help you, it's going to help you succeed through like building and repairing and everything. But what's also going to happen is if you don't have it, there's going to be one time where you will make sure from then on, your whole way you wrench changes and you will be so much more organized just to make sure you never lose that money, the cost, the time, and all that again.
We've all been burned. A lot of us have been burned multiple times because you hit that spot. And you're like, I will never do that again. And next, like 2 months later, you're like, it's okay. I'm not gonna.
I mean, like, hold on. Like Brady was bringing up, and when he messaged us in the comment and stuff like that, it was like. He saw that one part hanging after everything was almost done. And there were some words that come out of his mouth. Like that's exactly what we're talking about. So Brady, just shout out to you again, man. But man, I mean, I think you had like, there's a couple, all of these things are going to be able to help you like develop, especially if you're just starting out. Once again, like we're looking to help the people that have never turned wrench, have never done anything like this. Yeah. Are we more than 10 years in? Absolutely. Like we've been doing this for years now. It's something that we enjoy and we love because of, the communication, the patience, these skills, organization, the creative problem solving, and of course the persistence and repetition that we've had to grow or develop ourselves to really like finish these projects. Have I ever had a project not finished? Absolutely. Like I think everybody's project is not finished because there's always that one thing that needs to be done. But at the end of the day, is it running? Is it driving? Is the AC cranking? Can we drive this? Well, yes, absolutely. Will it sound like crap? Absolutely. But you know what? It's running, driving. It's keeping, kids safe if they're driving it. Family members, your brother, he had a car that you had, a while back. So it's like you have trust in the work that you're doing to help people and help yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge deal when it comes to that, man. And I think that's a big one.
You said it perfectly. And all these skills and tools that we just mentioned, they're going to be something that we're just trying to share with you guys. It's just going to make the hobby way more enjoyable.
Oh, absolutely.
And honestly, it's a hobby at the end of the day, right? And if you're not having fun, then why are you doing it?
Oh yeah, dude. I don't take things apart and lose parts just for me to just for me to not like it. Like, no, I do it because like it's the story, right? It's
Mhm.
it's the me talking to you while we're, having a drink and having some food and going like, dude, you won't believe what I did last week. Like I lost one of my hub bolts and I can't find the key to unlock any of my rims now. So now I'm changing all of my 20
Yeah.
20 bolts for my rims right now.
And with that, we would love to hear from you guys. What are some of your must-have tools? What are some of your
Yeah, for
overlooked
sure.
tools and skills?
Yeah, we
And
didn't cover them all. Like, so
yeah, for
there's
sure.
we could have been here for probably hours, and we're right on time. So it's like
It's one of those things where we want to, like KT was saying, we want to hear from you guys, especially about, hey, what are some skills that you developed that helped you either in life or either with cars or with your builds? What are some funny stories you guys have about being the redneck ingenuity,
Yeah,
broken down
redneck
side of it? You
engineering.
were going to say one more thing that you wanted them to comment on as well, right?
Well, we just want feedback. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
So Heat Soaked FL, we're on socials.
Hell yeah,
Heat
man.
Soaked FL, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, everything.
Yeah, hey guys, I think
Reddit now.
like we said it in our first episode, dude, we're just two guys hanging out. This is something that we wanted to do, and hopefully one day I'll show my son these videos and he'll laugh and be like, "Hey, Dad, you're an idiot." Like, but at the end of the day, we're here to have fun, here to really show our love for cars and help other people do the same. Like we definitely want to hear those stories. We appreciate the feedback in the comments, and big shout out to those guys. Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Appreciate another day.
Jeez. And
Heat
with
Soaked
that,
FL guys.
yeah, we're out of here.
We're out. See ya.
See ya.